Hello everyone. The story begins with a well-known, beautiful and famous woman named Bisola. She had just returned from the United Kingdom and checked into a hotel. On her way to the reception, a young man bumped into her. Little did she know that it wasn't an accident, but a deliberate attempt to steal her belongings. She innocently proceeded to the reception. Fortunately for her, the young man was caught by a disciplined waitress named Rita. Rita had seen the young man stealing Bisola's purse, retrieved it from him, and sternly warned him never to try such again or risk being exposed. Rita then returned the purse to Bisola, who was surprised and relieved to learn that it had fallen from her bag. Bisola thanked Rita for her honesty. Bisola proceeded to the receptionist to check into the room they had booked. At that moment, her fiancé quietly entered and surprised her by tickling her. She was startled, but happy when she realized it was him. They both sorted out the room arrangements with the receptionist, took their key, and left. Rita, the waitress, had her own story. She was a disciplined and decent lady, but had a rigid and hostile attitude toward men, regardless of their intentions. There was one particular man named Mark who had been pursuing Rita for over a year, but she refused to acknowledge him or his advances. One day, Rita was at the bar when her colleague asked her to serve red wine to a specific room. She initially refused but agreed after much pleading. Unknowingly, what she was about to see would shake her to the core. She delivered the wine to the room, and when the door opened, she was shocked and confused to see the handsome man who answered. She entered the room to serve them, only to find Bisola, who introduced her to her fiancé, Osita. Bisola thanked Rita for recovering her purse and asked Osita to give her a tip. The atmosphere became tense between Osita and Rita, as they were lovers years ago but lost contact. Rita quickly left the room, devastated and angry. Meanwhile, Osita, disturbed, excused himself from Bisola, lying that he was going to meet the manager for a surprise. Out of excitement, Bisola let him go. Osita went to the bar to speak with Rita, but she was too upset to listen. She raised her voice, asking if he would have approached her if they hadn't run into each other. Since he left the country, she hadn't heard from him and didn't even know if he was alive. Now, destiny had brought them together again. Despite Osita's attempts to explain, Rita told him to leave. Naza, Rita's friend and colleague, urged Osita to go if he wasn't buying anything, leaving Rita heartbroken. Shortly after, Naza asked who the man was, and Rita revealed that he was the boyfriend she had told her about. Rita then flashed back to 4 years earlier when she and Osita were dating. Osita had nothing to his name and decided to travel abroad for greener pastures. However, his uncle, who had promised him money for his flight, let him down. Rita, wanting to support her boyfriend, surprised him with 2 million naira for his ticket, not knowing it would be the biggest mistake of her life. In the present, Rita felt heartbroken and foolish for giving so much in the name of love. The next day at work, Rita tried to act as if everything was fine, but Naza noticed her heartbreak. Naza advised her to listen to Osita and find out why he had abandoned her, but Rita was too angry and quickly changed the subject to work. Days later, Bisola and her fiancé, still staying at the hotel, went outside to enjoy the atmosphere. Rita came out, and Bisola called her over, saying she wanted to swim but didn't have a swimsuit. Rita informed her that the hotel sold swimming trunks, and Bisola was relieved. She asked Osita if he had any cash, but he didn't, as he had given her the last of it. Bisola then asked how she could retrieve the money she had left in the room, and Rita offered to help, leaving Bisola happy and grateful. Rita entered the room to search for the money in the drawer when Osita came in and begged her to talk. "Rita, I was lost abroad and she helped me," Osita said. Rita coldly responded, "Well, that's your business," and attempted to leave, but Osita stopped her and stole a kiss. She immediately slapped him and warned him never to try that again before walking out. Rita returned the money to Bisola, who then asked her to buy a swimming trunk and keep the change. Although Rita initially refused the tip, Bisola insisted, and Rita had to accept it. Hours later, Rita brought the swimming trunk to Bisola with Osita already present. The tension between Osita and Rita was intense, but Rita kept her emotions in check and didn't let it show when seeing them together. Later that day, Osita managed to meet with Rita by a car. She was angry and disappointed, but Osita pleaded for a chance to explain. She began, "You left when I did nothing to you. You couldn't even message me, and instead, you blocked me on all social media platforms. What do you have to say to me?" Osita explained that Bisola's brother forced him to cut ties with her because he wanted Osita to marry Bisola. He blocked her in the brother's presence because he needed their help. Rita didn't believe him and prepared to leave, but Osita confessed that he still loved her and knew she felt the same from the kiss earlier. Rita, overwhelmed, walked away. Later, Bisola and Osita went to the pool, but Osita refused to swim and instead took pictures of Bisola, who happily posted them. A few days later, Bisola and Osita were in their hotel room selecting clothes when there was a knock. Osita answered, and it was Rita, whom Bisola had sent for earlier. Bisola offered Rita some designer clothes that no longer fit her, leaving Rita shocked and embarrassed. Rita, holding back her emotions, thanked her for the used clothes and left. Osita, witnessing the whole scene, remained silent to avoid jeopardizing his career. Rita, feeling insulted, shared her anger with her colleague Naza, complaining about Bisola giving her used clothes after taking her man. Naza, however, joked that the clothes were genuine designer pieces, making Rita even more frustrated. Later that day, Rita confronted Osita, expressing her anger about Bisola's actions and accusing him of standing by like a zombie. Osita explained that the clothes were expensive, but this only angered Rita further. She warned him to stay away from her and stormed off. One afternoon, Rita brought a bottle of wine to Bisola, who noticed something was off. Rita assured her she was fine, but as she was leaving, she asked about Osita's absence. Bisola mentioned that even she was surprised, as Osita hadn't been feeling well since they arrived at the hotel. Relieved, Rita turned to leave again, but Bisola corrected her, saying that she and Osita were only engaged, not married, while showing off her engagement ring. Back in the room, Osita was on a call when Rita knocked on the door. She boldly declared, "I'm here to take what belongs to me." Without further conversation, she pushed him onto the bed and they began kissing, eventually leading to them making out. Afterward, as they lay together, Osita explained how tough life had been for him in the UK. He admitted that things didn't go as planned, and he struggled to survive until he met Bisola, who introduced him to her brother. Her brother offered him a job but made him choose between Rita and the job, which forced him to end their relationship. As Osita and Rita continued talking, there was a knock on the door. It was Bisola. Rita quickly hid while Osita answered the door. Bisola asked what he was doing and he lied, saying he was napping. Suspicious but trusting, she invited him to come downstairs with her, but Osita, trying to keep Rita hidden, convinced Bisola to go ahead and promised to join her later. One beautiful day at the hotel, Rita was the receptionist when Bisola and Osita walked in. They exchanged pleasantries, and Bisola ordered a bottle of red wine before heading inside. As Bisola was about to leave, she turned back and said, "Yeah, that reminds me, Rita. Please do me the honor of accepting to be my chief bridesmaid for my traditional wedding next month. You don't have to pay for anything. I'll take care of it." Rita was shocked and distraught, but managed to act cool, giving a fake smile. Bisola, unaware of the underlying tension, genuinely believed she was building a friendship. Rita accepted, and Bisola thanked her before Osita stopped Bisola and told her to go upstairs alone while he fetched the wine himself. Bisola innocently agreed and left. Once she was gone, Osita quickly apologized to Rita, confessing he wasn't aware of Bisola's request and that it was the first time he'd heard about it. Suddenly, Rita blurted out, "Osita, I want you back," shocking him. She continued, "Yes, you heard me. I want you back. You don't have to travel back with her. You can stay, and we can start our lives over again. I have enough money saved up to start a business for you." Osita was dumbfounded and confused, not knowing how to respond. He told her they should discuss it another time, and just then, Bisola called him, so he left, leaving Rita feeling devastated and desperate. Later, at the bar, Naza approached Rita, saying she had been waiting for her as their shift was over. Rita, however, lied that a colleague had begged her to cover their shift. Though Naza was initially suspicious, Rita's convincing lie made her believe the story, and she left, leaving Rita smiling at her success in deceiving her. In the room, Bisola and Osita were talking when the landline rang. Bisola answered, but no one spoke. This happened twice more until Osita answered on the third ring. Recognizing Rita's voice, he listened as she told him to meet her outside in 10 minutes. When Bisola asked who it was, Osita lied, saying it was no one, and they continued their conversation. A few minutes later, Osita excused himself, telling Bisola he was going to watch a football match. Since she wasn't a fan of football, she grudgingly let him go after he promised to be back soon, even hugging and pecking her. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, Rita was talking to Mark, warning him not to show up at her workplace again as she wasn't interested in him. Despite his years of trying to win her over, Rita rejected him because she was in love with someone else. Disheartened, Mark left. Shortly after, Osita came out and met with Rita. She told him she planned to spend the night with him in his room, leaving him confused as Bisola was staying with him. Rita confidently replied that she wasn't stupid and instructed Osita to go back to the room, convinced Bisola to order a cocktail and she would serve it herself. Osita, confused and shocked, listened as Rita explained that after drinking it, Bisola would be fast asleep within 10 minutes and wouldn't know what was happening around her. Rita pressured Osita, asking, "Are you doing it or not?" He was speechless and unsure, and Rita left him to decide. Later that night, Osita returned to the room where Bisola was already asleep. He woke her and offered her a cocktail, claiming he thought she might enjoy it. Soon after, there was a knock at the door. Rita entered with the cocktail, served it to Bisola, and left. Bisola innocently enjoyed the drink, commenting on how good it tasted, unaware of what had been added. Later that night, Rita returned to the room. With Bisola fast asleep, Osita asked Rita if Bisola was still alive, worried about the effects of the drink. Rita reassured him and even hit Bisola to show she was deeply asleep. With that, Osita and Rita made love on the bed while Bisola lay unconscious. Do you think what Rita did was right, or is she becoming desperate? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. The next morning, Bisola woke up feeling groggy with a severe headache, and Osita, relieved she was alive, showed concern and suggested she take a shower after such a long sleep. Later, Osita secretly met with Rita in the hallway and expressed concern about what she had put in Bisola's drink, fearing the consequences. Rita calmed him down, assuring him she knew what she was doing. Osita warned her that if Bisola's brother, who is dangerous and feared, found out, they would all be in trouble. However, Rita remained fearless, confident that Osita was hers and no one would take him away. Rita then asked how much Osita had saved up. He replied, $14 million. Rita was surprised and excited, but Osita broke the bad news that all the money was in a joint account created by Bisola's brother. Rita was shocked and disappointed, calling him dumb for agreeing to such terms. Osita explained he had no choice, or he would have lost his job. Disheartened, Rita walked away in frustration. Days passed, and Rita continued to spike Bisola's drinks with sedatives so she and Osita could have their way. The plan worked until one day, when Rita was on the stairs mixing pills into a cocktail, Naza caught her and shouted for her to stop. Naza confronted Rita, accusing her of being desperate and evil for trying to get back a man who had left her for another woman. Rita defended herself, claiming that Osita was still her man and that Bisola was the intruder. Naza, seeing Rita's determination, took the drink away from her. The next day, Rita met Osita on the stairs and demanded that he find a way to remove Bisola from their joint account so they could take the money and elope. Osita was shocked at her desperation. Rita blamed him for the situation, saying that if he had returned to her as he promised, none of this would be happening. Frustrated, Rita asked him if he would do as she asked and walked away, leaving Osita to decide. One day, Bisola was strolling outside when Naza called her over. She began, "Ma, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about." Curious, Bisola asked who she was referring to, but before Naza could continue, Rita interrupted, calling out Naza loudly and disrupting the conversation. When Bisola asked Naza to finish what she was saying, Naza apologized and claimed it was nothing serious. Bisola left innocently, but Rita, realizing her friend was about to expose her, felt betrayed. She had confided in Naza about her struggles with Osita, but now Naza seemed to be choosing Bisola over her. Naza unapologetically told Rita she wouldn't stand by and watch her destroy another woman's life for a man, warning her to stop. Later, in the room, Rita served Bisola her usual cocktail, and as Bisola slept, Rita and Osita discussed the money in the joint account. Rita pressured Osita to take the money, insisting that no reasonable man would leave his money with a woman just because of a joint account. Osita explained that it wasn't easy, and they began arguing. Rita then confessed that she had stolen the 2 million naira Osita used for his flight ticket from her father. Her father had nearly disowned her for taking his life savings, which he intended to use to repay a loan. Rita's sacrifice for Osita made her desperation understandable. While they were still arguing, Bisola woke up and, to their shock, told them to stop pretending as she had overheard everything. Bisola revealed that earlier that day, Naza had given her a note warning her not to drink anything Rita or Osita served her. Feeling betrayed, Bisola expressed her disappointment in Rita, who she had genuinely liked and chosen as a friend. Osita apologized, but Bisola scoffed, saying he didn't have the courage to follow through with their plans. Rita, realizing she had been exposed, boldly told Bisola to stay away from Osita and then walked away. Osita tried to beg, but Bisola assured him he would regret everything. Later, Rita confronted Naza for betraying her. Naza, calm and confident, reminded Rita of her self-worth and said she only wanted to help. Rita, however, felt hurt and betrayed, insisting that she still loved Osita and that he loved her too, only staying with Bisola for the money. Disappointed, Rita cut ties with Naza, saying she no longer felt safe around her. That day, Rita was speaking with the receptionist when the hotel manager angrily confronted her, questioning her relationship with a client. Rita explained that Osita wasn't just a client, but her longtime boyfriend and the love of her life. The manager, disappointed, told her that such behavior was unacceptable and would ruin the hotel's reputation. He then fired Rita and warned her never to return to the hotel, leaving her in distress. Do you think Rita's actions were justified, or has she gone too far? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. Back in the room, Osita kept pleading with Bisola to forgive him, promising never to hurt her again and begging her not to report him to her brother, as he feared losing his job. Bisola, overwhelmed and confused, remained silent. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was Rita. She entered, applauding Bisola for getting her fired after reporting her to the management. Bisola asked Rita to leave, but Rita insisted that Osita leave with her. She even told him to pack his things. Bisola told him to go, but Osita remained silent, caught in a dilemma, unsure of who to follow. Rita then tried to entice Osita by revealing she had saved 10 million naira and offered to run away with him to any state of his choice. Still, Osita said nothing. Rita, giving him 30 seconds to decide, told him that if she left without him, he would never see her again. After the 30 seconds passed with no response from Osita, Rita, heartbroken, wished him luck and left, feeling defeated. The next morning, Osita woke up to find a note from Bisola, who had already left. In the note, Bisola confessed that the entire relationship had been a trap, orchestrated by her and her brother to enslave Osita. If they had succeeded in marrying him, he would have worked for her family for the rest of his life. Bisola suggested that Osita should thank God and Rita for saving him. She left him with a 10 million naira check as a parting gesture. Shocked by this revelation, Osita quickly dressed and left. With Naza's help, Osita found Rita. He apologized for abandoning her and failing to stand up for himself. Rita, still disappointed, suspected that Osita only sought her out because Bisola had left him money. She broke the news that she had moved on with her life and now had someone else, Mark, a man who had been persistent and patient with her despite her hostility. Rita expressed that Mark had been genuine in his intentions and she wasn't his second choice, leaving Osita heartbroken as she walked away to meet Mark. Days later, Osita discovered that the 10 million naira check Bisola had left him bounced. Bisola had given him a fake check. He called her, but she showed no remorse, even telling him to get off her phone. Later, Rita and Osita met in a bar. Despite everything, Rita confessed that she still loved him and believed they were soulmates. She admitted that, though Mark was in the picture, she didn't love him. She only pitied him, and that wasn't a valid reason to enter a relationship. Osita agreed, and they both professed their love for each other once again. To Rita's surprise, Osita revealed that he had saved over 300 million naira and owned a house in Lagos. Hearing this, Rita was overjoyed, realizing she hadn't lost after all. They embraced, their love rekindled. What do you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more updates on Nigerian movies. See you next time.